So I start off with my sketch layer. I do a few different sketches, try and resize everything first time around rather than doing it midline art. This time I'm doing a magical girl. I'm watching a lot of more of the gory magical girl side of it. Madoka Magica and Crazy Magical Girls project. Very good. Very gory. Here I've obviously been doing quite the classic stylized eye with the quite large eyelashes. Getting rid of some lines there for a more feathery effect. And reducing the size of the iris. Giving her quite the classic little bangs. I use quite a thick textured pen type, and that's what I'm most comfortable with at the minute. You can see I'm just resizing the head because we're looking a bit off. There we go. Starting that second eye is a little bit too easy for me to just copy and paste the left side and adjust it to the right, to be honest. It's often a bit too tempting. But really I'm trying to get that sort of symmetry down, or at least the perspective. I've decided this time to separate my line out onto different layers so I can come back afterwards and colour the vectors individually. I haven't figured out how to do this yet, just in small parts, so I figured separating the line out would be easier. Starting on the bear, giving him a cute button eye. Kind of wish I went back to the button eye. In the end I just sort of shaded it all one colour. Quickly looking on the hand. It's not too bad for a cartoony hand, really. Not super great at that, but certainly getting a lot of practicing. I go into this cute little angel wing at the back. I do go to that feather, it is abysmal. I decide to make hair longer. I do end up keeping the buns. Then adding just some lines to the hair. Give it some different weight. Once again, adding them bang sides in. I find it difficult to draw in the opposite side the exact same, so I just do copy and paste here and then just get rid of the excess. Which looks fine. I do always struggle drawing this part in, no matter what it's all on. But I kind of want it to stick to the sort of thick legs. Go for that cute sort of chibi style. Added some texture to the knees because obviously there's not a lot of definition. And I'm going to add blood and a bit of scrapes. I'm adding the part of the bodice. Totally sort of inspired by Tokyo Mew Mew. Adding some lace ruffling, which is super cute. Only very recently discovered how to put that in and then convert all the white. I sort of struggled with the buns again, it being hair. I think perhaps it might look better if I just sort of stuck with like maybe hair strands going in one direction. Yeah, it's pretty cute. Adding the armband. Obviously it doesn't do anything to the top, it wouldn't keep up or anything, but just an extra detail. I do love the noses. Like, I'm not a fan of these little like dot line noses. They do look great. I obviously can't do them. I had an extra hand here, copy and pasted that thumb, so I'd sort of get the correct ratio from hand size. I'm terrible for making the hands too small and then noticing far too late. So I'm trying to make that bigger. Giving it that space, adding the knife that she's holding. I did debate going with a gun for starters, but then I thought you'd lose a lot of the detail that I drew in the face if I put a gun directly above the face. And I thought there's something about a knife that's a bit more bloody, a bit more sinister, sort of. Can't draw a circle for the life of me, and I don't like the fact that the shapes that you can just draw straight away don't have any texture to them. I know you can sort of change what brush you're using, but it doesn't look right. It looks a bit too forced. Not that my attempt at a circle looks much better, to be fair. And drawing his little paws. Probably should have actually added some stitching here. I didn't really think about it at the time. Copy and pasting that part to the side because can't bother to draw that. I had a couple of goes at a paw there through the arms, but clearly drawing the other side of the corset in. I can't recall if I had frills to the bottom of the corset. I probably should have done. May have been much. See that I'm adding like sort of a flower petal skirt. Try adding them one by one, but it looks dreadful. It's not symmetrical whatsoever. So just copy and paste that over the flip. Get rid of all the excess bits and bobs. Taking away some of the extra details that are overlapping. So I think this line art is actually done. And I'm just going in the ruffles. So I actually got this one from the Clip Studio. It's come on. The Clip Studio materials. First time I've used this. It's really good. I went through their download manager and they had a lot of options. So I found this. It's quite a simple pack. It said it was free. So I installed that. That's really easy to use. And now I'm just putting them in the ruffles. I think I do 2 layers of ruffles. Hilariously, go with the one that I already had. I think I do 2 ruffles on the top and 3 at the bottom. I think I've already used. But obviously, what I should have done is turned down the contrast and up the brightness first to get rid of some of those shadow details because it looks sort of unnatural with the fact that later on I colour it using soft shadows as opposed to here where it's quite. I think the word is cell shaded. Could be wrong. I'm going down to the bottom and adding the ruffles in one at a time. She's super cute. And then there I am changing all the contrasts and the opacity, and I'm cutting and pasting over so I don't have to draw it. You see, going for the layered, like a scalloped edge vibe, as opposed to like going straight across from one with straight across the other. Get that extra poofy effect. The lines are quite thin in comparison to the rest, which I didn't really think about when I did it. No, it's like, it gets fine. I was getting used to go back and forth. I don't usually start from one side, work all the way to the other. I just sort of flit about where I get bored. Reduced the full opacity so you couldn't see any other way, and now I had no light back in. So there is probably a way to sort of prioritise what's at the top of these vector layers, but I do not know how to do that yet. Which to be said, I think it looks a lot worse when you come to see the coloured lines. I didn't really notice at the time, but afterwards when I was looking at the finished piece, I was kind of like, doesn't look great. Oh, back to the line art, clearly missed a bit. So finish off the ends of the hair. Give her sort of the swooped left and right. Doesn't really bring a lot of movement to the pose, which is a bit of a shame, but yeah, well, probably work on that more next time. Just adding a bit of a heel to the foot, adding a bit more contrast. Did debate adding lace ribbons to the legs, but didn't really look right in area. That's not really what I was going for. I didn't really want to let the tension down there and work so hard on the upper body. Adding some slip-on shoes, my favourite. I want to colour it. So you can see I've created a layer mask and I coloured it pink. And I'm making sure that lace white layer is on top of it. Just going in and adding colour to the skin areas. Going for a light pink. Adding details and shadow effects onto the skirt. I'm going for like a soft shading. Can't wait to keep the pastel colours here. A lot of my work looks a lot like greyed out, washed out by the time I finish it, so I'm trying to keep the bright colours. Going for the blue hair, my favourite colour. Kind of wish at this point I'd kept the black line art. Kind of feel like the bar looks better. And this is what I was talking about here. You probably can't see. It's sort of when the line art meets other line art and changes colour. It's sort of a weird overlap. I'm not sure how to get rid of that. Perhaps I should have pulled the hair up to the top and made that the dominant layer. And probably something I'll think about next time. I get this a lot, these little dots, random dots that peek through the masking layer. Probably something I'm not doing quite right when I'm making the selection. I do try and notice before I finish a piece. Adding shading to the fingertips, the knees, the elbows, under a chin, obviously top of a head. Added a bit of shadow effects really, and it just looks cute. I tried to sort of expanding that blush out, but I wasn't really enjoying it. Added it to a nose and little mouth. Quite sweet, blending that cap that I completely missed. You can see I'm using the polyline selection tool to add in shadows where I want them. And then I go in afterwards and erase. This really isn't foolproof though. You can see it a lot where I've either pulled the gradient too far or I've missed a little bit and it looks a bit silly. The thing is, because I am using a gradient, I am not picking up the same colour every time. So definitely should have laid a palette down so I could actually look at those colours. Adding a bit of textures to the angel wings, which is quite sweet. And trying to add the glow to the hair. You can sort of see that I've not done this before, don't really know what I'm doing, which still is cute. And the paint outside more highlights there. Adding some texture to the bear. Like I said, wish I'd just stuck with the button effects there. Oh, adding the blood. I kind of preferred the first way I did it. But I decided I didn't like that. I did a second layer, so I've copied and got rid of that one. Added some blood to the fingers and drips onto the dress. Oh no, I'm adding the scraped knees first. My tense blood isn't very realistic. I'm just adding some shadow underneath and some excess blood, and then that's the finished piece. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.